Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this edition of Roundtable number 58. Thanks for being with us all these weeks. I'm Ian. That's Paul. That's Mark. Welcome back, everyone. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. Ready to talk a little bit of Seahawks and then a bunch of Dolphins, right?
Yeah, gentlemen, I still have to go back and watch that D-Rob overtime game-winning catch just maybe every couple hours just to get a little nice influx of positive energy in my in my football soul because I just can't believe that happened in a great way. I mean that in a fantastic way. I'm just so happy. I mean, gentlemen, real quick on that. I mean, have you guys been
Did,
soaking it in like I have?
did you see the clip of Kobe Durant when that play went down on the sideline?
Oh yeah, his mic'd up. That was pretty cool. Everybody
His
just has
jaws
the
just
shocked
like,
look.
did that just really happen?
Yeah, so that was fun to release that. I'm hoping that they have in the next couple of days. I have the sounds of the game right, which is like the collective NFL films esque mic'd up that we do, and I hope to just keep reliving it, just like I have been these past few days. But gentlemen, any final words, thoughts on the Seahawks game before we move on to this Monday night game going on? I mean, I know I just kind of have my final thought on that, but anything stand out to you? Anything just come to mind when you think about that game overall? What about you, Paul?
I mean, the first positive for me was the defense, the way the defense played. I think that was probably, the last stand was phenomenal. The pressure that was really great to see. I mean, 7 sacks and a bunch of turnovers and one to the house. I mean, you can't go wrong. So, and this is 3 straight games, 20 points or less. So, keep chipping away, like we say, keep stacking those blocks, right? Get that number under 20 consistently. And then, once this offense catches fire, you're looking at a whole new dynamic.
Yeah, agreed. I agree for sure. What about you, Mark? Any final thoughts, words,
Well, I think
comments?
my final thoughts were I mentioned to you guys texting. I stumbled across Chris Long's Green Light. Is it the Green Light podcast? I think it is.
hmm
And he was going on and on about the Rams front four, and the defensive linemen and the edge rushers and what they got done, and just how good those guys are. And especially, I think he was talking about Jared Verse and Byron Young more than anybody, and Braden Fisk. Just he's super excited. I don't think Chris Long admitted that a lot of people don't see him as part of Rams Nation so much anymore. But he said, "I am. I remember I played
Good.
with them in St. Louis.
Yeah.
They moved on to LA, but when I see those horns, I'm all in." And he was just pumped. To a former defensive lineman himself, of course, just pumped, and he thinks that we have an elite unit developing there. So that was kind of cool to hear from someone with some street cred, right?
Yeah, 100%. Shout out to Chris Long. You're part of Rams Nation forever, man. And I guess my final thoughts outside of D-Rob highlights, watching that over and over, it was just the grittiness of this team to not fold, right? I mean, we watch a lot of film here on the Rams Up podcast, everyone, and the film doesn't lie. Things could have went disastrous leading outside of halftime, right? Going into that second half with them being down 13-3, but the team kept battling and battling and battling. And I'm happy that they had the grit. You hear that a lot from football terms, that they had that grit, they had the determination to not give up, and they knew what was on the line. And I think the film didn't lie, and it showcased that for sure. And I'm pretty happy about that. And obviously, D-Rob catch, I'll keep watching that for a while till next game. But gentlemen, let me ask you, everyone has a player of the game, right? Everyone has someone in the top of their head. So, Paul, who's your player of the game if you do happen to have one from the Seahawks W in overtime?
As the Ram fam on this unit that has a total defensive bias, I had like 5 players on the defense I wanted to shout out. From BY to Verse to Kinchins to, but I have to go with the Bone Crusher, Braden Fisk, the Beast Mode. 2 sacks. It was like his coming out party. He probably could have had 2 more. He didn't latch onto the quarterback, but he played a great game. He's really coming on. I think as a unit they're coming on, but I went with the big dog, double five.
Yeah, and even Chris Long pointed out that other guys were feeding off of his productivity. A couple of those plays that other guys made were because of Fisk. So yeah,
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of Chris Long, I mean, shout out to this stat by the Rams PR digging this out of the history book. So, defensive end, we know he's a defensive tackle, but DN Braden Fisk became just the fourth Rams rookie to record 2 sacks and 2 tackles for loss in a single game during their rookie season. He joined Kobe Turner, who should have won Defensive Rookie of the Year. He joins Chris Long and James Whiteley from the O2 squad. So, yeah, Braden's that dude, gentlemen. That's a great pick, Paul, for sure. I mean, I'm so happy he's a Ram. Screw everybody that said that we gave up too much. Byron Murphy, who? Right? Oh, maybe that's a little too early for Seahawks fans, I guess. But Mark, who's your player of the game if you do have one for the Seahawks?
well,
overtime
I
run?
was going to go the same way, but knowing that Paul was taking Fisk, I went with Demarcus Robinson, just the catch. The catch. Can we call it the catch? Ricky
Yeah.
Prohl might object to that, but that was pretty amazing. And I'll remember watching that catch for a long time because that game lasted forever. And then, to end like that with a brilliant catch, and just like that, the Rams walk off the field with the overtime win. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, gentlemen. I mean, outside of my highlight reel obsession with him right now, it feels like when they get into the goal line area, he becomes the featured guy to be thrown to. His first touchdown, where we were in a heavy tight end set formation, there was a play action kind of half rollout, and he had that whip route where you fake inside a couple steps, and then you would whip back to the opposite side or the other side there. I mean, he scored on that in, I want to believe, what was it, the Packer game, if my memory serves correctly, on that same exact play. So I'm glad that, Sean McVay and this offensive staff believe in him to be a guy thrown to in the goal line. And that's the second time he scored on that exact same play. So, teams are going to start freaking out over that. Like, uh-oh, D-Rob's in. And then that's where you can build off of doing double moves off that, other routes. And he's, he had a, a slow start with all the injuries, right? Him being kind of shadowed, but with the full squad healthy, I mean, he's a starting level receiver. I'm happy that he decided to come back with us on a cheap veteran deal, right? So happy.
I
But
think Mark's
gentlemen,
into Ricky Prohl, I think is spot on. If we remember that when Ricky Prohl came to the Rams for the GSOT, that was just a totally different dimension. And now you
yeah,
have 3 receivers that you have to respect. That just brings the lethality of the offense just goes up exponentially. So I think that comparison to Ricky Prohl, spot on.
yeah, that's a good one for sure. But at the end of the day, I guess, I mean, if you don't have a quarterback that can throw it to all those guys, then who gives a damn, right? So my player of the game is Matthew Stafford. Not Matt Stafford. Shout out to Colin Cowherd. He's a Rams head, but I know the Stafford family doesn't like Matt for whatever reason. So Matthew Stafford is my guy, player of the game. And breaking history books as he continues to extend his Hall of Fame-esque career. I mean, I think if he just keeps doing these amazing things, I don't see how you can deny him. And when other players who are nowhere near his talent level or caliber are in, right, we can all agree. Deion Sanders says it. There's the Hall of Good, and I know he's part of like the top room Hall of Fame that people like to say. Warren Sapp likes to say as well. Like there's levels to the Hall of Fame. I think Stafford belongs in that hall, and I think he deserves to be in those upper echelons just based off his career. But I think this stat helps that case. According to Elias Sports, QB Matthew Stafford's overtime touchdown on Sunday was his 13th career game-winning pass in the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter or overtime, which broke a tie with the Hall of Famer Dan Marino for the second most in NFL history. Only Tom Brady has more. Beast. So I'm happy he's our quarterback. He had that one throw a couple plays before the game winner where he laser beamed it into Tyler Johnson, and Reek Woolen was there like, oh, I got a freebie. And I held my breath. I was like, I can't believe we're going to lose off that. But nope, only Stafford can give you a heart attack and make you say, hell yeah, in the same 2 seconds. And without his laser beam throws and his clutch playmaking ability, I mean, we don't win this game at all. So he's my player of the game. And please stick around, Stafford. Things will get turned around when the injuries don't get so bad again. But man, oh man, what a game that was, gentlemen. Happy to win, but we got to move on just like the players and the coaching staff do, right? And Paul, I know you have your building blocks, what we like to talk about every round table. And I think that's pretty dang important to check in and see how we're doing with those. Every week, everyone listening in, Paul has a checklist of goods that need to happen for the Rams to be successful, and as weeks have gone on, he's been able to check off a lot of those goods. So, Paul, where are we at with the newest building blocks, and how are we doing with the previous ones you've stated before?
Yeah, so going into this game, obviously we're building that winning streak. So just building on what we've already established. I mean, the Rams and what they have already established. So it's got to be here. So they've established the ground game, but it has to get better. It has to increase. So obviously we saw Blake didn't get into the game that much. We saw Kyron, the running game got stifled a little bit. The Seahawks game was interesting. Vilma was pointing it out. That, and a lot of teams are doing this when the Rams are seeing a lot of teams are showing the Rams a heavy box, and instinctively they're assuming the Rams are going to come off of the run. And Vilma brought up a real point, and I think a lot of Ram fans have been saying this, is just hit that C gap, hit those edges. And when the Rams did do that, the run was there. So instead of running into that heavy box, hit those outer edges. So going to the first block is that I'm trying to pick a fair number that I honestly think is a good gauge for the Rams. Have it, just everything up to this point. I would say 27-28 plus is a good number for the Rams. If they can get Kyron and Blake that many carry/catches, I think that'd be a great number for the Rams. I would love for it to hit 30, tell you honestly, but I'm greedy. I love the ground attack. But I think if they can do that with a balanced passing attack, I think that's where it really lies. If they can establish that power ground game, and we saw it play out in that Seattle game, that made a huge difference against that Seattle D. They were worn out. So that's the first building block, to take it up to the next level, try to hit this target number about 27, 28, 29, 30, right in that range on a regular basis between Kyron and Blake. And that includes carries and catches. One additional thing about that, if you look, and we had talked about it, great segment this weekend on ESPN. We have been commenting the flats. Teams are not respecting the flats because the Rams don't really run a lot of screen. They don't run a lot of swing. But the flats are there, and there was a great segment, and we're going to get to that a little bit, when they started moving Stafford around in the pocket, how they started attacking that in that game against Seattle. So that's something else that this will open up as well. The second one is the load management for Kupp and Puka. Now that they're both back, we see the dimension that is brought back to this Ram offense. It's not a surprise that we're talking about D-Rob, 4 touchdowns in 2 games, right? It's it. This is old school, football. When I say old school, what is it? Maybe just a decade or two. But it's like my WR3 is better than your DB3. And that's exactly right. That's the type of football that's, going to win you championships if you do it right. So the first thing is load management for Kupp and Puka. Don't get too greedy with them. We saw, and the reason I'm bringing it up, if you watch that late Seattle game, Kupp was throwing the body around on the blocks, right? He was sealing the edges, right? So load management for Kupp and Puka, that's primary. Lean upon that wide receiver depth. We saw Tyler Johnson, albeit that Tyler Johnson gets himself in the doghouse because he starts to mope around when he doesn't get as many touches as he feels that he should. And we start to see it in his play. But with him, and when Bewick comes back, you're talking about a wide receiver room that's about 5 or 6 players deep, right? You saw Tutu got that one clutch catch. Once again, crossing route, right? Broke down, big first down. So that's another thing. Lean upon the wide receiver depth, get these guys through the season healthy for the playoffs, and then cut them loose. And then the other key thing is the tight end situation. So Parkinson has seen a 30% drop in his snaps, right? Whether that's because of injury, whether that's because of the usage now with the 12, whatever it may be, but it's very, very significant. So one thing that they have to start to do now is establish the tight ends as red zone targets. I think that's going to be huge. Now that the attention is going to come back to Kupp, Puka, and D-Rob, that should open it up for the big targets for Staff. Give them some easy looks, especially in the red zone. Shouldn't have to look down the barrel of the blitz every single time. So that's something just to keep in mind. I think we can build upon that now that the 2 young guns are back. Then we've been talking about, a building block, that 3 outside linebacker set. I like to call it that Daytona 500 defense they're showing, right? Full speed ahead. But now put Spates and Davis into the rotation. We saw what Omar can do. I think it's time. If they're going to play with the two linebackers, it's going to be Spates and Boom for the rest of the way. And Tyler Davis is just turning it up a notch. The kid is playing great. So paying huge dividends across that entire D-line. Then now that in my opinion, the secondary is becoming a strength, one of these things that for it to be a strength, they have to find out why they keep having these breakdowns. If you are playing a deep zone and you are still giving up deep passes, something is very, very wrong. Something is very, very wrong. And that Seattle game really, really is a tale of two games. You talk about this: 7 sacks, 3 turnovers, 12 penalties against Seattle, and you look on the scoreboard and they're winning. How is that even possible, right? And that breakdown at the second half, and then that drive down the field, right, tie it up, can't happen. Just can't happen. So the secondary is now a strength in terms of the number of bodies. They did trade away Trey White. I really, really feel that they should have kept him around, but it is what it is. But secondary is now a strength because they have enough bodies. They have guys that are playing great, but they have to play 60 minutes of solid football. No more mental breakdowns back there. The other thing is squeeze out every advantage that you can. The third phase, they got to get this return game going. They have the potential with the X-Men. They've got to get that return game going. Play that field position game. Improve your field position. Not every return has to go to the house. You get 10, 12 yards, it makes a big deal. And got to get Blake off the kickoff return team. He's too valuable to the Rams. You need him for that 1-2 punch with Kyron. Got to get him off the return team. Let Rivers do it. Rivers is a talented ball player. Let him get some touches, and that's an easy way to get him some touches back there. And then you can play the field position game with Evans. And listen, it's going to be a Cardi party soon. The kid's going to get his chance, right? Right now, his name hasn't come up that much, but it will. But that field position game with Evans has done a phenomenal job this season. Hopefully, he'll be back for this game. And then the last building block is, not enough is being talked about. Stafford has a 66% completion rate right now. That's phenomenal, right? And this is not even with the offense hitting on all cylinders. I think the last building block is number one. They got to keep Stafford upright. 2 straight games, he has not taken a sack, right? He's been hit, but he's still getting hit way too much for my liking. But I think the next part of the building block is here. Keep him upright, is building those half rolls, which we saw against the Seattle Seahawks. I love that. When they were rolling him out, let him use his arm strength, let him get the ball out there quickly, let him attack the edges. I think those half rolls are going to be phenomenal for the Rams, and they're going to loosen up a lot of these defenses because it was the game, I think it was prior to Seattle. Was it the Raiders? Yeah, it was the Raider game where they were saying they wanted to get Stafford off of his block, meaning get him to move around. They said once you get Stafford moving around, he's a different quarterback. Like it's a negative. Stafford's an athletic quarterback. He's not the most mobile. He's not a threat to running downfield, but getting him away from the pressure, getting him out there, letting him look downfield. I think it's a match made in heaven. I think that's the next element to this offense, building in those half rolls. So I think when we take a look at this after this game, if we can hit on 4 of these, I think the Rams will get a dub.
Yeah, I agree. Mark, any thoughts on Paul's building blocks? I mean, all great points, Paul.
Yeah, maybe it's worth bringing up. I know a lot of Ram fans are kind of confused why it's not just the secondary, giving up yardage. It's like we're getting burned by one receiver on the other team. It's been Marvin Harrison. It's been Jennings on the 49ers. Who else? It was Williams on the Lions. JSN. Is there an explanation for that? I guess is what I'm asking.
Well,
is it the
really
coverages that were?
The cover six stuff. I mean, I've been critical of it. We've been critical of it here. Um, the rules and disciplines that are involved with playing that quarter half or any type of quarters coverage, we have a lot of guys deep. Is that a lot of that underneath can be very exposed, and we have been exposed in that not deep part of the field, but like that deeper intermediate, if that makes sense. So there's obviously short, intermediate, deep, and kind of in that in between deep and intermediate, we've gotten shredded, which is that area in between underneath coverage and all the people covering deep. So we've gotten shredded a ton there. That doesn't help. But luckily we've adjusted. We've been more blitz heavy. We've been more creative with the looks. The dime cheetah is our favorite here. That's helped a ton. And then obviously Darius Williams and Akello being in the lineup has helped a ton. And I think in this game, what happened, to answer your question though about why JSN just shredded us for a career day, they had Darius Williams follow and shadow Tyler Lockett at like 90% of this game, which I like to see that actually. They're like, hey, D Will, go and shadow their best receiver currently, right? No Metcalf. And he did a good job. Other than that play that he kind of gave up when the flag got thrown and everyone thought it was going to be dead and he got a touchdown behind him. Other than that, which I'm not saying he deserves a pass for that, but he only let, Lockett have a couple catches and that was pretty much it. I mean, Lockett had a quiet day other than one big catch and then that touchdown where everyone on defense just didn't know what the hell was going on and stopped playing football. So I thought that was a smart plan. But when we do that, you do leave other guys to have chances to ball out on you. And I think
Yeah.
going forward, I think a building block that would be nice to see going forward is we do the Bill Belichick Patriots approach. You have your best corner line up on either their best receiver or like Bill said that was very good for them was that line them up on the second or the next best receiver and then you double their best. I mean, however you want to do it, up to you, but I think that's got to be the way. Get D-Will on one of their top receivers, and then you double the other one, and you say, all right, tight end, or all right, third receiver, you got to kill us to win this game. I think that should be a mold that they morph into. Obviously, this next game coming up is going to be a little hard to do, but I think that's an approach they should, think about. But I think that's what it is, and this cover six quarters coverage can get exposed with the right players. So I think hopefully it improves because there's been a ton of guys who have had career days on us. It feels like this far
Yeah.
into the season, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I think there's four, if not five guys that have had their best days against the Rams this year, but
Yeah,
just pointing that out. Not a
no
good
bueno.
stat.
No
I think
bueno. Well,
I think the other element to it too is that when you're playing that many young players, so we talk about like D Will, right? So D Will's a vet, he knows what he's doing. You put him on somebody. Is the now that your second tier of group of players, right, has to increase their quality of play, and that's what you're seeing. So that's why you're seeing a lot of these secondary. I don't want to say secondary players, but like the other teams, WR2 or WR3 all of a sudden has a big day, or their tight end has a big day because that's what's happening. So they're now that second tier of player versus our second tier of player. There's sometimes a mismatch. So as that second tier of player improves for the Rams, those type of scenarios hopefully will start to minimize. But right now, that's what's happening. Look, Kinchin's had a couple of breakdowns in that coverage. And we saw in the earlier weeks, the linebackers were having a lot of breakdowns in coverage. So, as they get more proficient in this defense, whatever maybe the nuances of this defense, and as these players and guys coming in and out of the lineup doesn't help either. So that's the key now, is to find who are your key players, who are your core players, build around them, and start to build that regular rotation. With the regular rotation, guys will find their niche, and when that happens, you'll see that it'll become a more proficient defense. But these mental lapses, some of them are just brain farts. It's the only way to explain it. To stop playing in the middle of a play because you think offside, the referee's going to blow the whistle. I mean, come on. That's just unacceptable. But, I think it's a combination of those two things because it is puzzling. You're absolutely right, Mark. It's every week. It's just a matter for the fantasy football players who's going to break out against the Rams this particular week.
yeah. Well, things are trending upward, thankfully. So hopefully we stop seeing these career days from a receiver out of nowhere. But great job there, Paul, going through all the building blocks. But we move on to Dolphins on Monday Night Football, gentlemen. Crazy. I mean, the season's flying by. We're already hitting this point. You know, we're already, what is this now going to be, week 10 coming up? I mean, wow. And everyone out there, I know you can look at the Dolphins record, right? And you can say, okay, 2-6. Tua's been hurt a bunch, right? They lost to the Seahawks and Titans. They've lost to the Colts and Cardinals and Bills. And you're like, this team's not good. But not having your quarterback, I think we all know that from the 2022 campaign, Rams Nation, that not having your quarterback, things just go off the rails fast and it looks bad and ugly, no matter how many other good players that you have. So, despite that, yes, they are 1-3 without Tua, but they are also 1-3 with Tua. I mean, before he got knocked out in that primetime game against the Bills in the first time they played each other, I mean, he wasn't playing a good game then, but since he's been back, let's just be honest, he's been playing some pretty solid football, and they've just had some heartbreaker losses with the field goal at the end. But before we move on to other stuff of the game, I mean, man, the Dolphins have some freaking fantastic players, and I think it's worthy highlighting a few of them real fast. You know, all pro, all world, probably future Hall of Famer Tyreek Hill, the speedster, the do-it-all guy that we all hope that Tavon Austin would have turned into, right? You know, the speedster that can do anything, any route, any end around, any trick play, he's on board. I mean, he's a freak of nature. The cheetah, he has the peace sign on his gloves, and sometimes he'll throw up the peace sign on you. We don't want to see that. He's dangerous. Speaking of speed, I mean, this season, no doubt about it, the running back, Devon Achane, is another filthy speedster, in my opinion, as well. Dude gets out in open space. I mean, see you later. Good luck. And on top of that, I mean, he'll get tough yardage. He'll lower his shoulder and he'll run over dudes and smash through defenders to get some extra yardage. So he's a worrisome and one of their best players this year. And I think objectively, no Jalen Phillips, no Bradley Chubb. They're still dealing with gazillion issues they've been having going on. And their secondary as a whole has been playing pretty good. But old friend Jalen Ramsey is the player we got to look out for, man. He always finds his way around the football. He's still traveling around with the best receiver when, his coordinator and their team lets him do that. He's worrisome as well. And there's other guys you could probably throw on your list. But, I mean, gentlemen, between those three, I mean, who are you worried about the most, truthfully?
Well,
go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just going to say, one guy that you didn't mention, Calais Campbell. He's there, right? I think he's their best pass rusher. Although they haven't been getting to the quarterback much. But I wouldn't put it past Jalen Ramsey to do something incredible in this game on Monday Night Football against his old team. So I guess Campbell and Jalen Ramsey on the offense. Well, geez, Tyreek Hill. I just got done talking about receivers that have had career days against us. So, yeah, there's that. Yeah, Tyreek Hill, it does seem like the type of receiver that could do some serious damage against us. But I think our secret sauce, you could say, is our defensive line putting Tua under a lot of pressure. That's probably what we're going to have to do.
Yeah, I agree. And Paul, who are a couple of players that come to mind that you are want to highlight real quick, or some of their best players you believe on their roster currently?
Yeah, I think the overall team speed for Miami is fairly impressive. I mean,
yeah,
they got Jason Waddle, right? Waddle.
Jalen Waddle, yeah. Before you go on, wasn't his stat line this last game like -4 yards and a touchdown?
-4 yards and scored a touchdown. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Crazy, yeah.
So they also have Jonnu Smith, the tight end. Yep. So you're absolutely right. So they have a lot of team speed there. So you have to respect this offense. So that's the thing. This game worries me. If the Rams come in sleepwalking with those slow starts, they could be behind early. And that has been something that has been a really disturbing trend that has still gone on. These first quarter goose eggs have really, really been hurting them. So this offense, remember, they also got the running back from San Francisco. He was there, Raheem Mostert, who is a good power runner, nice two-headed monster they got in their running game. So, you have to respect this offense. You're going to have to come in and play well. And like Mark said, the D-line is really going to, and that, inclusive of the outside linebackers, they're really going to have to play discipline, play physical. And, the way they played against Seattle, what was really good about the way they played defense, you saw the discipline. The gap discipline was much improved. They were spilling things to the force players, and the force players were there to finalize the play, finish the play. They were finishing plays. And against this offense, you're going to have to, because if you're undisciplined, somebody's taking it to the house. That's it. That's what Miami does. They move around. They have a lot of motion on every play, right? Just very similar to what the Rams do, and they use it to their advantage, right? They make it very hard sometimes to keep track and find flow, right? Because you don't know who's getting the ball. And Tua's like Staff. He's got one of the quickest pass release rates. So I think he's also like slightly under 3 seconds, likes to get the ball out quick. So, you got to have your head on swivel when you play this team.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of that, let's just get into some of their offensive leaders going into this game. So Tua, right, he's played the 4 games, averaging 237 yards per game. Obviously not anywhere close to what his, passer rating, yards, and all that stuff has been the last couple years with McDonald. 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Good ratio for him after, some up and down seasons. Rushing, Devon Achane is filthy fast, like we said. So is Raheem Mostert. Both of them averaging, decent yards per carry, but they've had some O-line issues as well. Receiving, Tyreek Hill we're worried about, but no quarterback for majority of these games. So, 446 yards, that's low for him. I'm sure that's probably a career low at this point, halfway through the year for him. 1 receiving touchdown. Jalen Waddle, we said earlier, another speedster that we should be worried about. 310 yards, only 1 touchdown. Again, no quarterback for majority of the season. And it's deceiving, all their stats, because they haven't had Tua, so we got to watch out for them. Speaking of defense, right, Jordan Brooks, 62 tackles. He's been a good player throughout the league. Calais Campbell, you shouted out earlier on Mark. He's got a couple sacks, and luckily, no Bradley Chubb, no Phillips on the edge. Those are really fantastic Pro Bowl level edge rushers. We don't have to deal with this game, thank God. Jalen Ramsey, familiar face. David Long Jr., another good linebacker from this time. And then Jordan Poyer coming over from the Bills. I mean, they got some good players on defense, and their back end has been holding up and saving the day with their pass rush being so, lopsidasical, I guess you could say. But I think it's going on real quick, gentlemen. I mean, here's some Rams offense versus some Dolphins defensive stats. And again, some of them are skewed because, yes, Rams have had a ton of injuries, and there are some games where, no Kupp, no Puka. Now we can see how it is with all the guys ready to rock and an O-line that's more in unison. We don't have guys who probably should be just practice squad guys playing, and that helps a ton. But scoring offense, Rams are 21st. Dolphins defense is 17th, so there's a chance to put points on them. Red zone touchdown percentage, the Rams still are struggling in that. Dolphins middle of the pack there at 16th. Third down conversion percentage. The Rams offense is not very good on third down, which is very troubling. And the Dolphins defense is pretty good at stopping people on third down. So that's not a good recipe. I don't enjoy that right there. But total offense right now, Rams offense climbing up the leaderboards now with the guys coming back healthier. But Dolphins defense, they're top 10 right now in total yards given. That's pretty dang good. So they're a unit despite the injuries. They're holding on. Pass offense, we're getting up there. Again, injuries not coming to fruition any longer. We're throwing the ball a little bit better. But 4th for the Dolphins defense. And again, their secondary is doing a lot of the dirty work and keeping them in ball games, right? Ramsey, Holland, Poyer, and others who I'm blanking on right now. And then the rushing offense. 26 for us, no bueno. That's got to be much, much better. And then hopefully, right, a Steve Avila returns. Hopefully a Jonah Jackson. If not, then let Bo Limmer keep rolling. I'm fine with that. And that's got to get better for sure. But, Dolphins defense, top 13, pretty dang good. Turnovers, we have the 5th least, which is good. So we're not giving the ball away, which is nice thus far in the season. And luckily, the Dolphins defense can't take it away. They have 6, which is the 2nd least in the entire NFL. So that's a good matchup for us. And then in terms of sacks given up, we're, the 24th most or the 24th least, however you want to put that. So we don't give up a ton. It's been really nice the last couple of weeks, keeping Stafford upright. And then luckily, Dolphins are one of the worst teams, 2nd worst in the entire NFL of getting to the quarterback, right? No Bradley Chubb, no Phillips. So that's a good benefit for us for sure, gentlemen. So any quick little Anything stand out to you on these little stats or that matchup? Rams offense, Rams defense off the bat for you. What
Well,
about
it
you, Mark?
kind of like the Seattle game. Going into that game, Seattle's given up 148 yards rushing per game, and like we're just going to run it, run it, run it, and we don't. Start out the game a little pass happy, and I kind of feel the same way about this game. Establish the run, get it moving on the ground, but I just don't think McVay has it in him to attack games like that. So we'll see, but it seems like you mentioned, their pass defense is pretty stout. So it's interesting that they have a stout pass defense, but they don't get to the quarterback that much. So yeah, we'll see what game plan McVay comes up with. He's probably going to throw it the first 7 plays, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I know. What about you, Paul? Anything stand out to you on this Rams offense, Dolphins defense?
Yeah, I think the way to attack the Dolphins is you do not want to become one dimensional. That's what's going to help the Dolphins. If you become one dimensional, you are helping the Dolphins. You can I watched both of their games, their last 2 games. So, on the defensive side of it, you could definitely run against them. I think that's probably, like Mark is saying, that's something the Rams really have to get back to. And like we're talking about building blocks, that should be a given. That's not something that you should have to lobby for game to game to game. It's there every game. You have a solid O-line, a big, physical, nasty O-line, and you have 2 running backs that are talented. I mean, that's just like ABC right there. So that's one. The thing that stands out for me on the Rams side of it is this third down conversion rate. We talked about a quarterback that's completing passes at 66% clip. And then your third down conversion rate is actually not impressive at all for an offense of this caliber. So to stay on the field, to have those long drives, you have to be able to convert. And this is an area that the Rams have to focus on in this game, is to really stay on the field, wear out this defense, and take advantage of it. Get it into the red zone and walk away with points. And that's the key. One thing that didn't get talked about Seattle is the Rams fumbled 3 times. They were lucky. They didn't lose any of the fumbles, but they fumbled 3 times. So they have to do a better job protecting the ball as well. But I think the third down conversion rate for the Rams will dictate how how well and how many points they score in this game.
Yeah, that's going to be the battle right here, right? I mean, just continue drives, get some damn points, get Cardi some short field goals, and score in the damn red zone, right? All the things that have just not been changing, but we'll see what happens going forward in this game coming up. But Dolphins offense, Rams defense, and I get it, everybody. These numbers are going to be skewed, maybe not just a little bit, kind of a lot, based on Tua not being in the lineup, but we'll go through them really fast. So, scoring offense for the Dolphins, second to last, not good since Tua's been in, but been much, much better since he's been back. Scoring defense for the Rams is 22nd right now. Obviously, that inflation of the Cardinals blowout makes it much, much worse, but they've been pretty solid these last 3 weeks. Red zone touchdown percentage, again, no Tua. It's 27th currently over the course of the season. But the Rams defense, top 10, 50%. That's not too bad at all, actually, which is, I'm not sure if that's the right number, truthfully. I remember it being a different number, possibly everyone, but it was something that was very, very good. We definitely are in the top 10 there. Third down conversion percentage, they're 12th right now for the Dolphins offense, 39.4. Not too bad. Us, we're at 14th, middle of the pack. Not too bad. We hope to see that number increase as time goes on. Total offense, Dolphins, 324 yards per game, 20th. So, they're in the lower tier, but with Tua back in the lineup, much better. Us right now, Rams defense, 360 yards. This is on the lower tier. Again, that Cardinals game really inflated things as well. It's been much better these past 3 weeks. Passing offense, they're ranked 24th. No Tua. We get that numbers a little bit skewed. Passing defense for us, 225 yards given up per game, 23rd. That could be better, and it has been better these last 3 weeks. And then the rushing offense for the Dolphins, top 10. And Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, I mean, that's all they've been having any offense at all since Tua's been out of the lineup. And they are a deadly duo back there, which I'm personally very worried about in this game. And we are in the bottom tier, right? 136 given up. We're ranked 24th right now, which is no bueno. That's definitely got to get a lot better. Which, again, much better in the Seahawks game. We hope to see, added improvement as time goes on. Turnovers. So they have 9, which is pretty good for the Rams defense, right? Excuse me, I said that backwards. 9 for the Dolphins offense, which is the 6th least. And then we have 11, which is the 7th most, as we've seen, Jalen McCullough have tons of interceptions. We see Cameron Kitchens get a couple. We've seen other guys step up. So that's very nice. Sacks, which is Dolphins 20. They've given up the 19th most, which is, not terrible, but not good either. They're still in that lower part of the league. And then we've gotten 21, which is the 10th most in the entire NFL. Obviously, 7 of them coming against the Seahawks this last week, and we hope to see that keep jumping up. So after all that stats I just said right now, gentlemen, Rams Nation, thanks for listening on all that. I mean, what are the keys to this game with this Tua-led offense who's looked good the last couple weeks against our Rams defense, who has also looked good, the last 3 weeks? What about you, Mark?
Well, I think we just got to continue what we've been doing, and that's bringing heat on the quarterback and putting pressure on Tua. And I hate to say it, but he has those injury concerns, and I don't want him to get hurt. But I think the Rams, they're going to bring pressure and put him on the ground, hopefully gently. And sometimes I think Tua tries to extend plays earlier than he should, and the Rams have the type of edge rushers that can get to him. A little bit more disciplined rush against a guy like that. That's what it's going to take. But that's the key for me, I think, is disciplined pass rush and getting to Tua.
Yeah, well said. I mean, that's always getting to the quarterback, isn't it? What about you, Paul? Rams defense versus the Dolphins offense.
It's going to come down to the ground game. If the Dolphins can establish that ground game, it's going to be really, really tough because of, once they become balanced, you have to defend both those arenas for any defense is tough. So if the Rams can stay stout against the run and force them to become one-dimensional, I think that's what the Rams want to do, right? That's what the Rams want to do. They want, Tua is a talented quarterback. I don't think he gets enough respect in the league. He's a talented quarterback. He can throw it downfield, and he looks to get it downfield. He likes to take his shots. So I think if the Rams can force them into a lot of longer, second and long, third and long, that's going to help the Rams. Because like Mark said, the Rams pass rush is heating up right now. They are playing their front seven is bringing it. So I think that's going to be the name of the game right now is whoever establishes the run game in this particular game wins this ball game.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, the run game in this McVay Shanahan style offense and in the McDaniel Shanahan style offense. I mean, both those guys come from run oriented backgrounds. They coach together. They're homies out the field. Apparently they have a good friendship. Maybe not homies, good friendship, whatever. Tomato, tomato. And they both know each other pretty dang well. They know, what lane that they're in offensively. Obviously, in these offensive communities in the NFL, you hear about all the time. Everyone watching each other's teams to steal stuff, to get ideas. So whether they want to admit it or not, they watch each other's offenses very often. And shout out to Jordan Rodriguez, who was doing the Play Callers podcast, where she was interviewing and continues to interview a lot of different play calling coaches in the NFL. I mean, they admit it. I mean, everyone's always looking to get an edge on each other or to steal plays from each other and implement it into their offense. So with that said, who can have the best run game and the most creative run game? And we know McDaniel is known for having creative run plays. It's time for McVay to match that to get this lower tier yards per game Rams offense with rushing yards per game to get that thing rolling and run it down their throat. Because, again, their pass defense, pretty dang good. And we got to figure that out there. So I agree with all the run game stuff you just said, Paul. But, man, oh, man. I mean, Monday night's not that far away, which is insane, gentlemen. Insane. So I know it's early, and I know we got some time, right? We're going to get injury reports. We're going to hear about a Whittington and Avila and Jackson and Note Boom, and we can go down the list of people we're hoping are going to play. And similar to the Dolphins, we're going to see who's available, who's not, and how is everyone feeling. I get all that. But early score predictions, we got to we got to throw some score predictions out there, right, Rams Nation, right, gentlemen here. So, I guess if you had to put right now today, obviously no injury report, none of the stuff we're waiting for as the week goes on. Mark, what do you think this game will unfold score-wise for the Rams and Dolphins on Monday Night Football?
Well, you have two offenses that have a lot of talent. Both teams have tons of talent on the offensive side of the ball, and you have a Dolphins defense that it's extremely good too. A Rams defense that's a little more less consistent, but on the rise. This is a perfect Monday Night Football matchup. There's going to be a lot of eyes on this game. If I'm sitting in a living room in Michigan or North Carolina, I'm watching this game. It's just a really interesting game. And I think the Rams win this. It's going to be in the 20s. 27-24 is what I'm going to roll with. I think the Rams both teams are going to get in the end zone. It's going to be close. It's going to be one of those stressful, tense games. Going to come down to the last possession, and the Rams win by 3.
I hope so. I'm incredibly nervous for this game. And again, Rams Nation, I'll see you out there on Monday night. I'll be out there. Tickets are at a decent price. Maybe as the week goes on, they probably won't be. So represent, pull up, give our team a whole field advantage. I'm excited for that. But Paul, early score prediction for you, man. I know, again, early in the week, but we got to throw some numbers out there. So who do you think, or what do you think the score will be in this game for this primetime matchup?
I have it 27-20. It's going to be a one-score game. I just think the Rams on offense, it's a matter of just becoming more efficient.
Rams win
27-20. And I think the Rams just have to be more efficient on offense. Everything else is sort of coming together. Once they become more efficient on offense, I think you'll see more consistency. Right now, like I said, they're not scoring in the first quarter and they're struggling in the beginning of third quarter. Although they did have a good third quarter against Seattle, but that first quarter they got to get off of that. They got to get off of that goose egg in the first quarter. If they can do that, they'll be fine. But I think they win by one score, 27-20.
And by the way, we're talking Joseph Noteboom at right tackle for this game. Do we know that much?
I hope so.
Yeah,
please.
That's what they're saying.
Please.
Do we have a review of Warren McClendon's performance? Do we know how
not
he
bad.
did?
Real quick,
he played okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, for anytime one of these kids gets thrown out there, right? And he's not a kid, but I'm just saying, like anytime these young players get thrown out there and Stafford's not getting his helmet ripped off, I think that's a good game. But Stafford's definitely probably like, Joe, how you feeling, buddy? You look good? You're good? You good? You need something? He's probably checking Noteboom every day.
Please. But gentlemen, for me in this game, I'm torn, truthfully. I've liked what I've seen from the Rams offense. I've liked what I've seen from the Rams defense, but I just have a bad feeling about this. Everyone out there in the grand scheme of Dolphins versus Rams in NFL history, we're 2-11. I didn't realize how bad it was till I looked that up earlier. The last win as an LA Ram was 1976. This photo behind me, right? When everyone had the nice throwback uniforms. Everyone should go back to those looks, by the way, Dolphins and Rams. But oh my God. I mean, McVay hasn't been the Dolphins since he's been our coach, right? He's only
right now. Yeah,
you're right.
He has. There's 4 teams he hasn't beaten: Dolphins, Bills, Steelers, and Jets.
God. And then the last time they were here in LA, we lost to them on that really bad weather day. I think that was 2016, I want to say. And I was there at that game when Tannehill was their quarterback, and it was an ugly loss. It was like, this team stinks. So
and we needed a win. We needed a win in that game to stay relevant. It was kind of a
And that was one of Jeff Fisher's final games before it started snowballing into him being done.
I remember that game now.
Yeah. With all that said, with their record being 2-6, but because of no quarterback action and them looking very good on offense and our deficiencies with team speed on defense, their insane speed, our issues with the screens, our issue with the checkdowns, all that stuff. I hope I'm wrong, but I think in my gut right now, 30-34 Rams lose. I feel like this is a typical letdown game, right? You're feeling good. Oh, we're 3-0 on this run after the bye. Oh, we're at 500. Oh, we're second place. Things are going great. Yada 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 yada. And this Dolphins team, where their season's not technically mathematically over yet, they have a lot to play for. Hey, man, we have the crew assembled on offense. We can score points on anybody, right? They played a Cardinals team who's looking like a decent to good football team, depending on whatever week they want to play. They had a good bout with them. Bills are one of the top, Super Bowl contenders by everyone's remarks in the media, and I think even us, we would consider them Super Bowl contenders. They went toe to toe with them in Buffalo and barely lost. So I'm extremely worried about this game. Team speed, all that defensive secondary having good pass demons, and McVay maybe playing into the pass happiness too much and avoiding the run. I think all that recipe leads me to this 30-34 Rams lose score here. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but if I was a betting man, I would bet towards the Rams losing. And you can say, Ian, come on, man, have faith in the team. I do have faith in the squad. But there's always a matchup every now and then where you should win, and the Rams will lose. And that's just how it is with the McVay era. There's always a couple games, 2 or 3 of them every season, where you're like, what the hell happened? We should have beat that team. This team's got talent. We should beat them. But this is one of those where we show up and there's the speed kills us, and we're going home sad on Monday night. Hope I'm wrong. I'm going to be there. I'll be chanting hard, but I don't feel good about this game
Yeah,
at
it's
all.
I almost wouldn't even consider it much of an upset. I mean, they're 2-6, but if these two teams were playing on opening day, 0-0 opening day with these rosters, it'd be a coin flip game. It really would be, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Rams should win it though. I agree with you, but I don't really think this is a must-win game either.
I think it's an interesting part of the season, right? So who do they have after the Dolphins? They have the Patriots, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if they go in, and, like way Mark was saying, so Mark's spot on. I mean, I don't think the Rams are at a place where they can say that they're like a dominant force, or they can walk in and any game is just like going to be automatic blowout. They have to play. Listen, if they go in and they have sloppy tackling, in the blink of an eye, they could be down by 14. So I really hope they're brushing up on their tackling, because their tackling was not great in Seattle. The other part of it, so that's one part of it. The other part B, is the game management. So how bad was the game management that with 7 sacks and 3 turnovers, you were losing in Seattle? Let me just say that again, Ram Nation.
I know.
3 turnovers, 7 sacks. They were either tied or losing. That's game management right there. There were so many breakdowns in that Seattle game. And look, it was a road game. So sometimes road games are tough, especially when you go up to Seattle. So, they're going to be back at home. But the bottom line is things you cannot give away. The game management has to be sound. The tackling has to be sound. And, no mental lapses in the secondary. Make them beat you. Play a solid 60-minute game. When the Rams play a solid 60-minute game, they can be a very, very good team based on the talent that's on this roster. But like Mark said, Miami's not a team. I mean, their record's misleading. Their record is very misleading. This is a dangerous team, and that should be the mindset coming into this. It's not looking ahead to the Patriots. Let's take care of business here. We take care of business 1 week at a time. And from our perspective, they go into New England and they win over there. Now they're 6-4. Now you can start to feel good about yourself. Being 500 is not anything to feel great about, right? You have to fight your way to get to 500. Keep staying hungry. Stop reading you don't read your own press release, right? That they always say. And then come out, be hungry again, play like dogs, and then put your best foot forward and see what happens. But control your own destiny. That should be the mantra for the Rams right now. Is like, control your own destiny. Let's get to 10 wins.
Yeah, I saw, Sean McVay doing the press circuit, and it's cool to see him on Good Morning Football and Colin Cowherd, but sometimes I rather he wasn't. And Ian, what you mentioned, that record against the Dolphins, that trend, and I'm starting to pay a lot closer attention to trends, and some of them make absolutely no sense, but they hold true, they hold true. And I can't figure it out. There's really no cause effect in a lot of cases, but over the years, Rams just have a lot of trouble with the Dolphins.
Yes, they do. And, before we get into the doom and gloom game time scenarios, I guess when we do approach Monday night, I mean, we'll see some familiar faces. We talked about Jalen Ramsey earlier. Obviously, we sent him away to the Dolphins per his request when we said it was not going to work out financially with us anymore. That still makes me sad thinking about that. And then OBJ, his Ravens route didn't go as planned. And then the Dolphins hasn't gone to plan as much either, but he's going to be out there, another weapon for that trio of wide receivers. And hopefully there's a tribute video for them, right, for the Super Bowl, accolades and major plays they all made in that playoff run to get us to hoist the Lombardi. So I hope there's something cool before the game starts, and I'm sure there is. I mean, people like to get on us like, oh, Jared Goff got something lame. I'm like, we had him on the Jumbotron saying thanks, Goff, and all that stuff, and Brocker is like, get the heck out of here. There'll be something for Ramsey nice. I expect something nice for OBJ as well, and whoever other Ram happens to be on the team I'm blanking on right now for the Dolphins. So that'll be cool, but let's not kid ourselves. Those guys want to beat us because that'll be the first time they're playing in SoFi since that Super Bowl victory at the end of the 21 campaign. So it's going to be a tough matchup, but it'll be good to see them, and I'm glad that they're still playing, and they'll forever be Rams legends, at least in the Rams house and on the Rams Up podcast, right, gentlemen?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they deploy Jalen and Puka, Jalen and Cooper. Those are interesting matchups. Be some. I can't see trash talking between Jalen and Cooper though, right? Just don't see it.
Well, there might be some of that friendly crap talk you see. Like, hey, remember in practice, I got you on this, dude. There could be some of those little those friendly crap talk mind games before the snap that you see, and hopefully, we have some good people mic'd up for that game, and we can get some action with Jalen. Maybe a Puka's mic'd up on purpose to maybe hear Jalen chirp a little bit, or vice versa. We'll see.
Even OBJ, man. OBJ is going to be chirping too, man.
Yeah.
There's some great storylines in this game,
Yeah.
Ram Nation. There are going to be some great storylines in this game. This is going to be a really fun game to watch. I really hope Blue Thunder keeps rolling because, man, this team, once they pick up a head of steam, they're going to be tough to stop. The Rams are headed in the right direction as long as they stay focused. And McVay's going to get this team right. He's going to get their headspace right, and I have a feeling that they're going to go on a run. They're going to go on a deep run.
I hope so, gentlemen. And man, oh man, I mean, I wish we could just fast forward to tomorrow so we can all just get this game over with and enjoy it. Talking about it's so much fun with you guys. And thanks again to Ram Nation for tuning in. Shout out to everybody listening on the podcast side of things. Shout out to everybody tuning in on YouTube. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share this video. Get it to as many Rams fans, football fans as you can. It helps out the channel grow and other people see more Rams content for sure. But, dang, gentlemen. Any final thoughts before we get out of here? What about you, Mark?
No, just go Rams. It's going to be, hey, you know what I like about Monday Night Football? And it makes for a nice, relaxing Sunday, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's the upside of it. We can just chill on Sunday, and then Monday's a holiday for a lot of us, so that's kind of nice. Yeah. And then Monday Night Football, man, it's going to be electric.
I think so, too. What about you, Paul?
Dude, I want to see the Rams light up the scoreboard like a pinball machine. Get back to those days, man. I want the playoffs. I want them to make the play. I want the playoffs to be tomorrow. Let's just get into it. Yeah. But I'm loving the squad. I'm loving the youth, the nice blend of veterans and young players that are sort of gelling and coming together. I'm excited to see how they work in the new players into the rotation. But come on, Ram fam. Let's go, baby. Blue Thunder. Let's go. Let's get rolling.
Yeah, Blue Thunder. Yeah, Blue Thunder indeed. And I guess for me, Rams Nation, get your butts in the seats out there to SoFi on Monday if you can afford it. If you got time, you got to give this team a home field advantage, and it does lead to victories. I don't care what anybody says. More people on your side, the better you're going to play as a player. Don't care what anyone else has to say. It's a fact. It's proven. It makes a big, big difference. So I'll see you guys out there, and then we'll also see you next time on the Roundtable here with me, Ian. That's Paul. That's Mark. And we'll catch you guys hopefully with the Rams W in that post-game reaction come Monday night. So with that said, peace. Rams forever.
Thanks a lot, Ian.
Run the rock. Run the rock, baby.